Today we're going to be talking about the state of the restaurant industry in regards to restaurants and our planet. This organization was founded in 1990, 29 years ago, to do nothing less to shift this restaurant industry to a place that's sustainable. Sustainability is a very easy thing to understand. Anybody that balances their budget in their restaurant or their home, right? If you end up at zero at the end of the day with no profit, then from a sustainability perspective, not from a restaurant perspective, you're good. You took out as much as you earned. We didn't leave the planet more in a deleterious place than we did 12 months before. That's the definition of sustainability. It's a pretty bad goal, isn't it? Would any business go, gee, I really just want to break even this year? Nobody would run a business like that. A nonprofit maybe. So that's our first goal. Then once we hit sustainability, we want to get to a place of regeneration, a place where there's more fixing of the issues that were broken. But right now, we're trying to just stabilize the patient. We're trying to just get to zero and not go more into the negative. So that's a framework for sustainability of what we're talking about today. Now, the good news is, the only part of the bad news of my presentation is the beginning. Then I'm going to talk about the good news. Most of the time I give speeches, I don't talk about the bad news at all. But I think 29 years into this organization, this issue is front and center regarding straws, regarding fish that are on the brink of extinction, regarding climate change, regarding food that we depend upon at an everyday level. The average knowledge of the average restaurateur is far beyond what it was 30 years ago. When we started this organization, you said green, people thought Kermit the Frog. They had no frame of reference. They thought the only thing was vegetarian and Kermit the Frog. Now there's a few other reference points also. Here we go. If this was a country, the restaurant industry, the worldwide food system would be the largest producer of greenhouse gas emissions in the world. Take that in if you don't remember anything else for this whole show. Restaurants use 1/3 of the electricity in the entire retail sector. Walk down the streets of New York City. Well, New York, it's not so strange to imagine that because every third business probably is a restaurant. But all over the United States, this is the case. 1/3 of the electricity, 1/3 of the coal, 1/3 of the natural gas, 1/3 of the oil goes to this industry. When you hear presidents and senators talk about climate change, they don't talk about the restaurant industry. But it's a mistake. Because, as the statistic shows, it is a huge piece of the pie of solving this issue. If the American restaurant industry was its own country, in terms of GDP, it would be the 17th largest country on the planet. So when all the countries get together to try to fix these issues, this industry, for just this country, would be slot number 17 in terms of the impact. Okay, here we go with the bad news. Some of these images are going to sting a little bit, but you have to know our organization stays there in a very short time, and we have some clients that are sitting here. We never talk about the bad news with the clients, we always talk about the solutions, but it is good to be educated also so that we can be inspired. So this is the impact. So you wonder why you have a million vendors here talking about compostable straws and paper straws. You wonder why straws are being banned all across the country. It is true. It is not the most important issue that the restaurant industry can tackle. But it is one of scores of issues that are an important thing. It happens to have gotten a lot of media this year. This particular image of seeing a straw inside of this turtle's nose was one that compelled really the world to start taking this on. This is what's happening. Our plastic is ending up in the bodies of the fish that we eat, which you'll see in a moment. Again, I will get to the good news in a moment, so hang in. Seafood. 2/3 of the world's seafood is overfished. Fisheries are expected to collapse by 2050 if we do not start to consume sustainable seafood. For every pound of shrimp, 26 pounds of other sea creatures are killed or tossed back into the sea. Has anybody ever thrown something away? Everybody. That's what we do. When you're a kid, I grew up in the 70s, it was a really good thing to throw something away. It meant not problem is there's no way. There's no state, there's 50 states in the country, a couple hundred countries on the planet, and there are some other planets, but none of them are called away. There's no away. Away used to be China. It used to be Malaysia. But China recently, in the past year or two, said, we don't want the garbage of the world anymore. Their economy is growing. They don't want our plastic anymore. Okay, let's send it to Malaysia. No problem. There's some other countries who want our garbage. Guess what? Malaysia also is following in China's footsteps and also does not want our garbage. Who cares? How does it affect us? Very much. Because if you're creating policy in the city of New York or the state of New York, or you're a restaurateur, or you're a recycler, it means that the market for your product is much more difficult to send somewhere where it's going to be processed. It creates a pressure, a financial pressure, to use less disposables and start thinking about more reusables, and or to develop markets that are local for the recycled products. So it is creating a local pressure here. The environmental impacts of current levels of meat consumption. About 18% of the carbon emissions come from meat consumption in the world. So meat is a big issue. I once had a steakhouse say, when they called us up and they were interested, it was a very popular, well-known steakhouse, and they said, we really want to do this, but we're not going to go vegetarian. And we said, great. Our organization, the vast majority of the restaurants are not vegetarian. But what we would encourage is if you have 4 or 5 people going out to eat, as we'll see in a moment, one of them might be a vegetarian. One might be a heart patient. One might be somebody that doesn't want that particular menu item. So it's good to have a sense of flexibility, a sense of diversity. Just in the past 4 years, the world's experienced the hottest 4 years on record. If that sounds like a broken record, that headline happens almost every year. Problem is, it keeps on being true, unfortunately. The Arctic Ocean has lost 95% of its oldest ice. This is not going here. Sorry about that. The Arctic Ocean has lost 95% of its oldest ice, a startling sign of what's to come. This is a polar bear scrounging for food. As you can imagine, this is not the natural habitat of polar bear. In 1984, the one on the left is the Arctic, and on the right is just a few years ago. Look at the difference in size. One of the impacts of climate change is drought. I grew up in California. Drought is a big issue. It affects life, it affects business. Water is life, water is food. Here are 2 of the same locations, and just a few years apart, drought and not drought. Here's a dam, drought and not drought. On to another issue. One of the things that we work with on restaurants is more sustainable food, getting to organic. And organic simply means using less dangerous pesticides. Recently, just over the past couple of years, a jury awarded an unprecedented amount regarding a Roundup lawsuit. So the courts in the United States are now backing up where the science is, and hundreds of millions of dollars of liability are now being pressured to these companies. So all these financial pressures start creating a pressure for the solutions that I'll talk about in a moment. So U.S. waste of food resources. This is one of the biggest shames, because at least with the other stuff, you could say, I do this thing that's not so good, but it's convenient. There's some value you're getting out of it. You can make an ethical argument. Is it really worth, wiping out that fish species so your kid doesn't have it? But at least there's a pleasure that's happening, right? Or with climate change, I'm not saying it's good, but at least somebody got in the car and went somewhere. With this, there's no value. No into this market called food waste that sits in a landfill. 20% of cropland. If you walk around a farm, you can divide it in fifths. 1/5 of it should be called waste. 2.6% of all greenhouse gases emitted annually, which sounds like a small number, but it all adds up. Goes to this, just food waste, not even food, just the waste of food. 18% of all farming fertilizer goes to food waste. 21% of U.S. landfill content. It's astounding. If we can take care of this issue, which we can. Oh, I failed to say something. For those of you who are restaurateurs, money. That's money out the door. That's money that you're paying a garbage hauler to take something, giving you no value. It's labor that you spent on one of your staff members to purchase. And 1 out of every $5 you pay your purchaser goes to nothing. Let alone the dollars for the actual food. Let alone the gas to transport it from the distributors. If the global food waste was a country, it would be the 3rd largest greenhouse gas emitter after the US and China. Sorry, this is a little bit... Okay, there you go. So there's a graph there. Then you have litter on the streets of New York. So it's better than it was 30 or 40 years ago for sure, but we've gotten very used to, I just took a flight today. 20 or 30 years ago, my meal would have likely been on a reusable dish with reusable forks, knives, and spoons. Now everything's throwaway. Things that used to be reusable are throwaway. Things that could be reusable again are not there yet, although there's now a slow movement back to shifting to reusables, but that's going to be a big one. Okay, we're getting to the good news soon. This is a picture of microplastics found in fish. This is an average fish. This is not a special fish. Unfortunately, if you take fish and you dissect fish in certain areas, you're going to get plastic, and this is visible plastic. This is visible plastic. There are plastics that are smaller that are being ingested, that are bioaccumulative, toxins that are bioaccumulative, whether it's pesticides that go up the food chain or very small plastics that go up the food chain that aren't even visible, that end up at the top of the food chain, which selfishly is us. What I've been saying for 29 years, and I'll say it here, is you don't have to have an ounce of altruism to care about these issues. All you have to do is care about yourself and not want to eat that. All you have to do is care about somebody in your family, somebody who has asthma. You don't have to go to a dolphin. You don't have to go to another continent. You don't even have to go to somebody 20 or 30 years from now. It's a nice thing to do. But you can really look very close to home, be very selfish, and not want to eat that. Okay, we're almost to the good. This is an albatross. Look what's in there. I'm sorry, I don't usually show these things, but the faces that are on there are the faces that I also feel, and if you have the stomach for it, there's some incredible documentaries that show about plastic that's ending up in our food system. And we're the food system, again, it's us. Why are we feeding ourselves this? Okay, a couple slides away from the good news. By 2050, oceans are expected to contain more plastics than fish. Good thing about plastic is it lasts. If you need something that lasts in a building, it's good. But for disposables, things that get thrown away, it's a big cost that we're paying. Okay, this is an ocean cleanup. Coastal cleanup. If you can't read it, the number one thing was cigarette butts. Usually cigarette butts and foam are number 1 and 2. You've got plastic beverage bottles, food wrappers, plastic bottle caps, straws, stirrers, plastic bags, glass beverage bottles, plastic grocery bags, metal bottle caps, plastic lids. 9 out of the 10 things on this list that are on our posts are from the restaurant industry. 9 out of those 10 things can be in the restaurant industry. I guess the cigarette butts could also, but those have been banned by and large from restaurants. Okay, the good news. What can we do? So the bad news is on the left. There you have that sad turtle. On the right, what can we do? The easiest thing that every restaurant can do that's not controversial at all is plastic straws by request only. That's an easy thing. You don't have to purchase anything. You'll save some money. Not everybody wants a straw. For those who need it, some people need it. If somebody has a disability, some people literally need a straw because they can't eat out of a cup. I know people like that. But the majority of the customers don't need a straw, but if they want one, it's there. If they don't want one, they don't need it. You could also do reusable straws. I have them in my house. They're nice. You could also do paper compostable straws. If you do the paper compostable straws, test them out. Get the one that you like that works. You know, sometimes people will come to me and say, I tried that biodegradable this, it didn't work, so now I'm going back. I said, well, did you ever get into a car and test drive a car that you didn't like and say, I'm never driving a car again? No. You went to another brand. You tested out something else because you wanted a car. So with the green products, look at the competition, test things out, use the same due diligence you would. That's straws. There are solutions, anywhere from not using to reusable ones to disposable ones that are compostable. Or that if they get littered, at the very least, they're not going to last long in the ocean. The bad news regarding the food waste, the good news is smaller portions. I didn't talk a lot about our organization, I'm not, but our website's dyinggreen.com. We have a points-based system where we help restaurants become certified green restaurants. We have a wonderful representative from JFK here who recently got their Terminal 4 to be a certified green restaurant, which is an amazing thing. And one of the standards that we have literally hundreds of standards. One is serving smaller portions. That's an easy thing to do regarding dealing with waste. Not across the board, as an option. You have the regular portion, and then you have the smaller portion. Some people call it kids portion, but it doesn't need to be. That person who weighs 120 pounds might not be eating as much as the person who's weighing 200 pounds who's 6 feet 5. So to have different portions is a good thing. You could also compost, and you can donate the food. The hierarchy of food is send it to a human first. That's the best use of that energy. Separate from the ethical issues, it's the best use of the energy that went into making that food. Then after that, you want to send it to an animal, and then after that, send it to the little critters that are going to compost to make new soil and new food. The bad news regarding all that garbage is you could have bottled water. You could have bottled water replacements. There are many restaurants instead of doing bottled water, have machines there that can make seltzer, that have nice filtered stuff. We have restaurants that have done this, that have literally made more money off of this than their bottled water. They put in a nice carafe, and it looks nice, it can be branded, so financially it's a good thing. Environmentally, you're not throwing stuff away. You can compost. You could also have reusable incentive programs for mugs, for takeout containers, things of that nature. There are places in the West Coast where restaurants have gathered together, hundreds of restaurants, where they have a whole token deposit system where you go and you get a reusable container, and when you're done, you go to the bottom of your building and dump it in a box that looks like a FedEx box. Somebody takes it to a central facility, sanitizes it, redistributes it back to those restaurants. There's already models of a disposable, reusable system that mimics the convenience of disposability for takeout, but has a much better environmental impact. On the energy and climate change, the sad news is the 1/3 of the electricity, but there's a lot that we can do. Lighting itself takes about 13% of the energy in a restaurant. You switch over all of your bulbs this year to the most efficient LED bulbs. It's a great investment financially, and you could save up to 10% on your energy bill. Occupancy sensors are a no-brainer. Timers, all energy Energy Star equipment, if you have a strong delivery system, electric vehicles, if you depend upon external delivery systems like Uber Eats and you have enough influence, you can encourage them to move faster in shifting their fleets over to electric soon. And some restaurants actually have solar panels, not so easy to do in New York City with lack of roof exposure. Regarding water, you can do water upon request. Every water that you put down at the restaurant that isn't drunk, is that water wasted? It's the energy that then goes to clean that cup after. It's the chemicals used, and it's the impact on the sewer system. No value at all except to annoy a customer that has water there that might actually care about this issue. You can save time, you can save money, you can save labor, and you can make your customer happy and save a lot of environmental resources. Low flow faucet aerators should be on every restaurant, bathroom, sink, any sink that is not a fill sink, that's a washing sink. You can have an aerator that's 0.5 gallons. You can have high efficiency pre-rinse spray valves that used to be efficient at 1.6 and then 1.28, and now there's many that are under 1 gallon, as low as half a gallon, 0.6 gallons. These things literally alone can save thousands of dollars for you. Okay, wrapping up soon. Who cares? Oh, gosh, this thing. Sorry. Cares, customers, and employees. Sorry to give you time to guess that. The average millennial dines out 5 times a week. 14% more than baby boomers. That's the demographic that cares the most. That's the demographic. You need to care about all the demographics because the marketing surveys show across the board people are willing to spend more money and make decisions based on green. But the millennials are much more dedicated around this issue. It makes sense. They've been educated from day one on this issue. 65% of millennials choose restaurants based on whether it serves environmentally friendly food, and local sourcing is a factor in deciding where to dine for 70% of millennials. This is more statistics showing across the board encouragement for purchasing green. Vegetarianism in the United States, you have 1 to 3% who are actually vegetarian, 3 to 6% who 3% who describe themselves as vegetarian, and then another 13% of adults who eat meat with less than half of the meals, and you have varying statistics that it's not a black or white thing. There's varying degrees of people who are trying to eat less meat, and the restaurants that are capturing this benefit. Who also cares? Your accountant. Why? Because just one of these steps alone, these little aerators that cost less than $10 collectively can save you $700 a year. A spray valve that costs $70, even if you have a super efficient one at 1.1 or 1.2 and you go down to 0.6, do the math, that could be hundreds and thousands depending upon if you have a food court or just an individual one. LED lighting, as I said, can be 10%. Here's an example of energy. One restaurant could save 47,000 kilowatt hours of electricity, 35,000 gallons of water, $5,000 a year, and reduce their waste by 90%. This is an average restaurant. Ask me if it's easy to go solar for every restaurant. No, it's not. Ask me if every restaurant can do this pretty much. Yes. This is a very attainable thing that it's almost irresponsible business-wise to not integrate these because it makes sense financially. To solve the planet's environmental problems, we need to solve the restaurant industry's environmental problems. We talked about how high it is in terms of being a country. We cannot just talk about transportation anymore and electricity production. We've got to talk about this industry that consumes a huge amount of transportation and electricity. There's 3 pieces of legislation. As you guys know, styrofoam was by and large banned in New York recently. It's happening all across the country. Composting is mandated for many restaurants in this region, as is recycling. I just got off the phone last week with 2 state senators of a state that's not this, but another big state, who government is getting involved. Whether you like it or not, it's happening. I'm going to leave you with 2 more slides before I get to this thank you. Okay, so as a takeaway, here's my call to action for the restaurant industry in 2019. There are hundreds of things that you could do. It's overwhelming. If you're working with us, we help you maneuver it. If you're not, it's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of information. It's easy to just stop doing it because it's overwhelming. Focus on these for the year. All LED lighting. It makes financial sense. You will be happy financially. The color is great. Install the most high efficiency pre-rinse spray valves that are under a gallon a minute. Go on to the various different fish lists, and if you don't know them, go to our booth right over there. We'll be happy to get you the information. There's different lists that talk about the green list. Fish that you can consume, go to town and enjoy. Orange list. They're kind of on the verge of being threatened, but they're not so dangerous. Red list, best to not consume them, because if we can continue to consume them at the current rates, they might not be your restaurant in 20 or 30 years. So that's one wonderful thing we do, and there's plenty of fish that are on the green list. Having one vegan main dish labeled properly. In a few minutes, you guys are going to get the pleasure, if you stay, of seeing a certified green restaurant, the Red Lentil, that he's going to do a food demonstration to show that having a vegan food option can be delicious. And what I like to say is, if you don't like it, don't put it on your menu. Don't put that salad that you wouldn't eat because it's for the vegan or the vegetarian. It should be just as delicious as the other. Otherwise, you're going to stop putting it on your menu. It's got to be good, and it can be, and he's going to demonstrate that. Hopefully, you guys will be able to taste it. So, one vegan main dish, it's got to be labeled properly so that the vegans can feel comfortable coming, the vegetarians, the heart patients. Lastly, an effective recycling and composting program with great signage. There's 2 tools that I'm going to leave you with after that call to action. One, encourage you to go to dinegreen.com/pledge. If you don't remember it, our booth is right over there. What can you do there? You can take a pledge for the planet this year about the thing that you want to do. There's no commitment. It's not going to be published. It's completely private. It's just a way for hundreds and thousands of restaurants to say collectively, this is what we're going to do this year. Whether it's straws, whether it's recycling, LED lighting, and that collective will really make a difference. This is a new tool that we just launched. It's in beta form, called Green My Restaurant, and you won't find it on our website, but we can give you the website if you come to our booth over there. It is a free tool that will allow you, in the comfort of your own office or home, to check whether you're recycling or composting, to check on lots of questions, probably 20 or 30 questions there, and it will give you a score of where you would be if you were certified. It is not a certification system because it doesn't mean anything. It's a self-assessment. Any self-assessment isn't a certification system, but what it does do is it could start a conversation with you and your colleagues and your staff of, wow, we could be a level 1 certified green restaurant, or we could be a level 2 or level 3, or we're not at level 1, what do we need to do? It begins a conversation. If you don't measure it, you don't know where you're going. So this is a free, no commitment way to check and see where you are. Lastly, what I want to leave you with is that, this is the last slide. Okay, it's not working. The last slide says thank you. And, oh, there you go. It's really important not to become disheartened. These issues are huge, and it's easy to put our heads in the sand. But it's a mistake. It's a mistake from a business perspective because the millennials are not going anywhere. And if the owner of the restaurant doesn't care, that's okay. The customers care. And that should be enough of a motivation as it is. Having said that, I've seen from our clients over 30 years, 5-10 years into it, even the restaurateurs who didn't originally care feel proud of their work. They become spokespeople for the organization, for the mission. People don't regret saving more water and putting out less garbage. They feel good about it. It's a good business decision. It's a good decision for the planet. And and it's a good decision for the restaurant industry. So I thank you for your time, and we'll look forward to hearing all the great stuff that you guys are going to do in the coming year.